Imagine it rains for 7 days. Not a soft movie rain, not a cozy rain tapping on a window while you complain about Wi-Fi. A cold, stubborn, ancient rain that soaks the ground, darkens the sky, fills footprints with mud, and turns every stick you wanted to burn into a wet little insult. Now imagine there is no house, no roof tiles, no waterproof jacket, no weather app politely lying to you with a tiny cloud icon. So what did ancient humans do when it rained all week? The simple answer is shelter. The stranger answer is that rain changed almost everything. It changed where you slept. It changed what you ate. It changed whether your fire survived. It changed how far you could travel, how animals moved, and how much patience your group had before everyone started looking at the same damp wall in silence. Because for ancient humans, rain was not background weather. Rain was an event. And if it lasted all week, your whole life had to bend around it. First, there is one important thing to clear up. Ancient humans were not just sitting in caves forever. Caves are useful. Rock shelters are useful. A dry overhang in a storm is basically prehistoric luxury real estate. But most landscapes do not hand out perfect caves like free hotel rooms. Many ancient groups lived in open-air camps, temporary shelters, brush huts, hide-covered frames, windbreaks, and camps near cliffs, trees, rivers, lakes, or good hunting routes. Archaeology often preserves stone tools and bones better than wood, bark, grass, hides, and woven materials, so the oldest roofs are usually missing from the record. That does not mean there were no roofs. It means the roof rotted away before it could leave a dramatic museum pose. At sites such as Ohalo II near the Sea of Galilee, archaeologists found evidence of brush huts and plant bedding from roughly 23,000 years ago. In Ice Age Ukraine, places like Mezhitych show that people could build impressive shelters using mammoth bones, likely combined with lighter materials such as wood, hides, or bark. These were not modern houses, but they were not helpless piles of sadness either. Your ancient relatives could build, they could repair, they could improvise. Rain did not meet people who were stupid. Rain met people who had been paying attention for a very long time. If rain started gently, the first decision was simple. Do you stay, move, or reinforce? A good camp mattered. High ground was safer than a riverbank. A slight slope was better than a puddle. A rock overhang was better than a flat open field. A place with nearby fuel and food was better than a beautiful view that made everyone wet and hungry. This is one of the oldest survival tricks humans had. You did not defeat weather by being brave. You defeated weather by not choosing a terrible place before the weather arrived. Modern people sometimes call this planning. Ancient people called it not waking up in a stream. If the group had a shelter, rain turned everyone into maintenance workers. Branches sagged, hides stretched, bark shifted, grass thatching leaked. Wind pushed water sideways because weather has always enjoyed being rude. People would tighten bindings, add branches, patch gaps, scrape mud away, build small drainage channels, move bedding, raise sleeping areas, and pull important objects away from wet ground. A tiny leak could become a big problem. Not because ancient humans were afraid of inconvenience, because wet bedding steals heat. Wet firewood refuses to burn. Wet tools can be slippery. Wet hides get heavy. Wet ground turns sleep into a cold argument with the planet. The biggest treasure in a rainy week was not gold. It was dryness. Dry tinder, dry fur, dry grass, dry bark, dry skin, dry enough wood. Fire was the center of the rainy week. Fire gave heat. Fire dried clothing and hides. Fire made food easier to chew and digest. Fire pushed back darkness. Fire may have helped keep some animals cautious. Fire turned a wet camp from a survival problem into a place where life could continue. But keeping fire alive in long rain was work. You protected embers. You fed them slowly. You searched for dead wood hidden under logs, bark, or overhangs. You split damp wood to find drier inner parts. You used dry plant fibers, fungus, resinous wood, or prepared tinder if your group had it. You treated the fire like a tiny, grumpy elder who must be kept comfortable, or everyone suffers. If the fire went out, you did not just shrug and order delivery. In many times and places, people could make fire by friction or sparks, but doing it with soaked materials was hard. Very hard. The kind of hard that makes a modern lighter look like forbidden magic. So a rainy week probably meant someone was always watching the fire. One person working, one person drying fuel. One person moving smoke out of their face. One person coughing dramatically and pretending to be useful. Smoke was another problem. A shelter that keeps rain out can also trap smoke in. A fire inside a closed space can make eyes sting and lungs burn. So ancient shelters needed balance. Enough cover to block rain, enough airflow to breathe, enough fire to stay warm, but not so much smoke that everyone looks like they lost a fight with a cloud. This is why a rock overhang could be perfect. Open front, dry back, wind protection. A place for a hearth. The rain hits the outside, people gather inside, the fire snaps, tools appear, work begins. Because no, ancient humans probably did not spend the whole rainy week doing nothing. That is a modern fantasy made by people who think the past was just hunting, screaming, and accidentally discovering soup. Rainy days could become repair days. You sharpened stone tools, you retouched edges, you scraped hides, you fixed bindings. You made cordage from plant fibers or sinew. You repaired baskets, nets, bags, or simple containers if your group used them. You checked points and blades. You prepared food. You taught children skills that are easier to teach when nobody is marching across the landscape. Bad weather can trap a group, but it can also create time. A sunny day pulls people outward. Rain pulls people inward. And inward time matters. This is where a rainy week becomes more than weather. It becomes culture. A group stuck together under shelter has to manage tension. Someone is cold. Someone is hungry. Someone stepped on someone else's dry sleeping grass. A child is bored. A dog, if the time and place included dogs, may be wet and extremely proud of the smell. Food becomes the next question. What do you eat when rain keeps falling? The answer depends on where you are, when you are, and what your group has stored or recently gathered. Some ancient hunter-gatherers had dried meat, smoked fish, nuts, seeds, roots, shellfish, or other gathered foods. Some groups lived near coasts, rivers, lakes, forests, grasslands, or cold steppe environments. There is no single ancient human menu because ancient humans did not live in one giant prehistoric restaurant. But rain changed the menu. Heavy rain could make travel dangerous. Streams could swell. Steep ground could slide. Cold wind could turn a short trip into a serious risk. Animal tracks could wash away, or fresh mud could make new tracks easier to see. Some animals hide. Some move. Some become easier to approach because sound and scent behave differently in wet weather. Rain does not simply stop hunting. It rewrites the rules. A short break in the weather might send a few people out quickly. Not everyone. Not for a heroic adventure. Just enough to check traps, gather nearby plants, collect shellfish, bring fuel, or look for animals moving through predictable paths. In some environments, rain could actually help. Mushrooms appear, plants soften, fresh water collects. Animals leave clearer prints in mud. The landscape starts writing messages on the ground. But too much rain creates danger. Floods are fast. Cold is quiet. Mud steals energy. Wet clothing and wet bedding can pull heat from the body for hours. For people without modern emergency rooms, the line between uncomfortable and dangerous could be thin. So a smart group did not treat rain as a dare. It treated rain as information. If the river rises, move back. If the ground softens, avoid the slope. If wind changes, shift the fire. If smoke fills the shelter, open space. If the children are shivering, fix that first. The ancient rainy week was a test of attention, not strength, not toughness. Attention. Could you notice the leak before the bedding soaked? Could you notice the stream before it cut through camp? Could you notice whose hands were too cold? Could you notice the fuel pile shrinking? Could you notice when boredom was turning into conflict? Survival was often less dramatic than movies suggest, It was not always a spear raised against a charging beast. Sometimes, it was a person moving a pile of dry grass 3 feet to the left before the drip reached it. Not cinematic, very important. Ancient humans were not mythical survival machines. They were people. They got annoyed. They got tired. They wanted warmth. They protected children. They complained in whatever language or gestures they had. They laughed at something stupid. They waited for clouds to break. They probably stared outside at the rain with the same expression you use when your weekend plans collapse. Rain also affected movement. Many hunter-gatherer groups were mobile, but mobile does not mean constantly wandering randomly. Movement followed food, water, seasons, social ties, raw materials, animal migrations, and memory of the land. Sometimes rain forced a camp to split its attention. Keep the fire alive, keep food safe, keep tools dry, keep children warm. Watch water levels, watch animals, watch the shelter, watch each other. That last part matters most. One person sees smoke building, another sees a child shivering, another knows where dry wood might be under a fallen tree, another remembers a better overhang nearby, another can repair the shelter, another can calm a frightened child with a story. A rainy week rewards cooperation. Not perfect cooperation, human cooperation, the kind with eye rolls, but still cooperation. When you are stuck close together, you need rules, patience, humor, memory, teaching, and trust. You need to know who watches the fire, who goes out, who stays with children, who repairs, and who decides when the camp is no longer safe. Rain makes the invisible structure of a group visible. A weak shelter leaks. A weak plan leaks too. The rain also gave ancient people something modern people often lose. It forced slowness. When the sky shuts down the landscape, you cannot scroll past it. You cannot skip the storm. You cannot order a new climate. You listen. You wait. You work with your hands. You watch the fire. You read the ground. You let time become physical. That does not mean it was peaceful. It could be miserable. It could be dangerous. It could be boring in the deep, ancient way, where the entertainment options are fire, mud, and your cousin making the same noise for an hour. But boredom is not emptiness. Boredom can become invention, observation, story, practice, repair, planning. A rainy week might be when someone improved a binding, noticed a better way to shed water from a shelter, taught a child a knot, repaired a broken point, or remembered exactly which ridge stayed dry. Most of this would leave no artifact. Archaeology is amazing, but it is also unfair. Stone survives. Bone sometimes survives. Charcoal can survive. A joke does not. A clever patch of bark does not. A child learning to twist fiber does not always survive as an object. So when you ask what ancient humans did during a rainy week, the real answer is partly hidden. You see the hearth. You see the tools. You see the cave wall, the post hole, the remains of a shelter floor, the animal bones, the stone flakes. But you have to imagine the living system around them. Hands passing dry tinder. Someone shifting closer to warmth. Someone stepping outside and instantly regretting it. Someone checking the sky. Someone laughing because the rain found the one hole in the roof directly above the most important sleeping spot. Because of course it did. And then the rain stops. Not all at once. First the sound softens. Then the drip slows. Then the air changes. Birds move. Insects return. Water shines on leaves and stones. Mud holds new tracks like fresh handwriting. Now the camp changes again. Bedding comes out to dry. Tools are checked. Food is counted. The fire is fed. People stretch. Someone walks the edge of the flooded ground. Someone looks for animal signs. Someone decides whether to move. The week of rain becomes knowledge. This place floods. That overhang works. This wood stays dry under bark. That slope is dangerous. That stream rises faster than it looks. That child needs the warmest spot. That person is very annoying when damp, but useful with fire. The storm becomes a map inside the group, and that may be the real hidden answer. Ancient humans survived rainy weeks not because they were tougher than you in some cartoon way, but because they lived inside attention, memory, and cooperation. They knew the landscape was not scenery. It was a partner, a threat, a pantry, a roof, a warning system, and sometimes a very wet enemy. Today, rain is usually an inconvenience. It ruins traffic, it cancels plans, it makes shoes squeak. It turns one forgotten umbrella into a personal tragedy. But somewhere deep in human life, rain was once a full-body message from the world. Slow down, get under cover, protect the fire, check the children, repair what leaks, wait wisely, move when you must. So the next time it rains for 7 days and you feel trapped indoors, staring out the window like the sky personally betrayed you, remember this. For most of human history, that feeling was not just mood, it was survival thinking. And long before roofs, weather apps, and dry socks, your ancient relatives were already doing the most human thing imaginable. They were trying to stay warm, stay together, and outsmart the rain.